Before I tell you this story, I need you to look at something. This is a Forest Service logbook, United States Department of Agriculture, issued to Ozark National Forest, District 7. The cover is green canvas, bloated with moisture damage, corners eaten away by something I don't want to think about. The spine is cracked. Several pages are fused together from 50 years of rot. I found it this morning, buried in mud beneath a rusted metal lockbox, approximately 4 miles from the nearest fire road. I want you to look at this entry, June 12, 1974. The handwriting is cramped, old ink faded in places, but the words are clear enough. Male subject observed entering Sector 7C via the Eastern Ridge Trail, age estimated mid-30s, green jacket worn at the elbows, dark leather pack left shoulder strap repaired with paracord. Subject appeared unaware of observation, logged at 8:43 hours. I'm wearing a green jacket right now. The left strap of my pack broke 2 weeks ago. I fixed it with paracord. My name is Daniel Harrow. I'm a Forest Service worker with the Ozark National Forest. I've worked this district for 11 years. And this logbook, written 50 years before I was born, has my name in it. Let me start from the beginning. It started 3 days ago, routine survey, Sector 7C, eastern edge of the district. We'd had reports of illegal dumping near the old Harmon Creek Basin, nothing unusual. I've done that walk maybe 40 times over the years. But this time the creek was running different, lower than it should be for September. The bank on the north side had collapsed inward, like something had been pulling the ground down from underneath. That's when I saw the corner of the lockbox. Old steel, rusted almost completely through, the kind they used in government field stations before everything went digital. I thought it was survey equipment, maybe a cache left by a crew in the 70s and forgotten. I dug it out with my hands. It took about 15 minutes. The lock had corroded open decades ago. Inside, one logbook wrapped in oilcloth that had mostly disintegrated, some pencils worn to nothing, a laminated district map dated 1971, and a handwritten note on Forest Service letterhead folded 3 times. I opened the logbook first, standard format, date, time, location, observations. The first entries were unremarkable: wildlife sightings, trail conditions, a note about a damaged footbridge near the Whitaker trailhead. I flipped through casually, the way you flip through something you expect to be boring. Then I stopped. The entry was dated June 12, 1974, and the handwriting had changed, same pen, same paper, but the letters were tighter, more deliberate, like someone writing slowly, carefully, making sure every word was exact. Male subject Daniel Harrow, Forest Service ID 740 for 19, observed entering Sector 7C via Eastern Ridge Trail at 8:43 hours. Subject carrying standard issue equipment plus personal leather pack, left strap repaired, green jacket canvas faded. Subject proceeded northeast toward the creek basin. Subject does not know he is being watched. Subject does not know what the creek has been hiding. Do not approach, do not interfere. Document only. I stood there for a long time. My Forest Service ID is 740 for 19. That number wasn't assigned until 2013. I checked the handwritten note from the lockbox. It was addressed to no one. It said only this: if you are reading this, you are already in the log. The log does not make mistakes. The log has never been wrong. Leave the sector. Do not return after dark. R. Calloway, District Ranger, retired. I looked up R. Calloway when I got back to the station. Robert Calloway, District Ranger, Ozark National Forest, 1969 to 1977, retired due to psychological evaluation concerns. The official record doesn't say what those concerns were. He died in 1989, alone, in a house 40 miles from this forest. His family said he refused to talk about his time in the Ozarks, said he wouldn't even look at a map of the district. Said something in those woods had been watching him, writing things down, and eventually it would come for whoever it had been writing about. I should have left the logbook at the station. I know that now. Instead, I took it home, spent the night going through every page. Most of it was normal. The early entries, 1969 through early 1974, read exactly like you'd expect from a competent field ranger. Weather patterns, animal activity, trail reports. Calloway had good instincts and a clear eye. You could tell he was good at his job. Then something changed in late spring of 1974. May 3rd, he wrote, tracks near Sector 7C that do not match any known species. Pattern suggests bipedal movement, but weight distribution is wrong, too heavy for the size, too deliberate, will monitor. May 17th, something has been rearranging the deadfall near Harmon Creek. Not wind damage, not animal foraging, deliberate placement, geometric, I don't have a better word for it. June 1st, I believe I am being observed. I have not seen anything directly, but the forest has a quality to it now that I can't explain professionally. The birds go quiet before I arrive at locations, exactly before, as if something knows my route before I take it. June 9th, I found a second logbook today, identical to this one. Same cover, same format, same government issue, but the entries inside are not mine. They describe visitors to the sector, hikers, hunters, a survey crew from 1971, described in detail, physical descriptions, the contents of their packs, their conversations, things no one could have known unless they were standing right beside them. The handwriting is not mine. June 11th, the last entry before mine. Tomorrow a man will come. His name is Daniel Harrow. He will find this log. He will not believe it at first. Then he will believe it too much. I am writing this as a warning. The thing in this sector does not hunt the way animals hunt. It does not need to catch you. It only needs to document you. Once you are in the log, you are part of its record, and its records always reach their conclusion. I turned to the back of the log book. There were new entries, written in the same cramped hand as the June 12th entry, except they were dated after June 12th. They were dated yesterday and today. Yesterday's entry described me driving home from the station, the exact route I took, the radio station I was listening to, the coffee I bought at the gas station on Route 23. Today's entry described me sitting at my kitchen table, reading the logbook. It described the expression on my face. Then it described what I was about to do next. It said, "Subject will now turn the page." I turned the page. I went back to the forest the next morning. I know how that sounds. Everything Calloway wrote said to leave. The note said to leave. The entries about previous visitors, every single one of them, ended the same way. The subject leaves the sector. The subject does not return. But my entry hadn't ended yet. The logbook was still adding pages, and I needed to understand why. Sector 7C was different in the morning light. That's the only way I can describe it. The same trees, the same trail, the same creek, but there was a quality to the silence that I hadn't noticed before. Not peaceful quiet, waiting quiet. I brought the logbook with me. I don't know why. Maybe I thought having it close would mean it couldn't write about me from a distance. That doesn't make any logical sense. None of this does. I found the deadfall Calloway had written about. It was still there 50 years later. The arrangement he'd called geometric. Enormous logs, some of them 3 feet in diameter, placed at angles that would have taken machinery to achieve. But the placement was too precise for machinery, too deliberate. They formed a path. I opened the logbook while standing there. The new entry was already written. Subject Harrow has found the approach path. Subject is considering whether to follow it. Subject should be aware the path leads to the observation station. The observation station has been active since 1887. Every visitor to this sector has been documented. No visitor has ever found the station and left unchanged. Subject Harrow will be no different. I looked up from the page. The forest had gone completely silent. No birds, no wind, no sound from the creek, even though I was standing 20 feet from it. And then I saw the ranger station. It wasn't on any map I'd ever seen. In 11 years working this district, I'd never known it existed, but there it was at the end of the deadfall path, almost entirely consumed by vegetation. Log construction, government issue windows now dark and broken, the door was open. Tacked to the outside wall were pages, hundreds of them, some laminated, some just paper, yellowed and curling. Each one was a log entry. I recognized the format immediately. Every person who had ever entered Sector 7C going back to the 1880s, documented in identical cramped handwriting, physical descriptions, personal details, conversations they'd had with no one within earshot. The most recent page was blank except for 2 lines. Daniel Harrow, Forest Service, District 7, now standing at the threshold. I looked down at the logbook in my hands. New ink was appearing on the page, forming words as I watched. Subject is reading this entry in real time. Subject now understands the nature of the documentation. Subject has a choice. All subjects have a choice. None have ever made the right one. Something moved inside the station. Not a sound, not a shadow, just a sense of weight shifting, of something very old, very patient, turning its attention fully toward the open door. I ran. I know that's not a satisfying answer. 11 years in the field. I've dealt with storms, injuries, downed trees, a wildfire that cut off my exit for 6 hours. I don't run. But I ran from that station, and I didn't stop until I reached the fire road. I still had the logbook. I should have left it, I know that, but my hands wouldn't let go of it. That's the only way I can explain it. Not fear, not compulsion. Just the absolute physical inability to release something that felt, in some way I can't rationally describe, like it had already become part of me. I drove back to the station. I went straight to the records room. I pulled every file on Sector 7C going back to the 1950s, the furthest back our physical records go. 11 missing persons in that sector, over 60 years, all reported as lost hikers, disoriented hunters, one survey crew member in 1971 who walked away from camp and was never found. No bodies, no evidence of violence, just people who entered Sector 7C and didn't come out. I checked the logbook entries for each date. Every single one of them was in there, documented in full. The last line of each entry was identical. Subject entered the station, documentation complete. My entry doesn't say that. My entry is still being written. I submitted a report to my supervisor requesting Sector 7C be closed for environmental assessment. She approved it. No one goes in there now. I still have the logbook. I've tried to get rid of it, left it in a dumpster across town, drove back 3 hours later and it was on my kitchen table, burned it in my backyard fire pit. It wasn't burned, it was just there on the table like always. Every morning I check the latest entries. They describe my day before I've lived it. So far they've been accurate. So far each entry ends the same way. Subject Harrow continued his routine, documentation ongoing. I don't know what happens when that changes. I don't know what documentation complete means for me. Calloway's note said, if you are reading this, you are already in the log. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Thinking about all the people who might be reading this right now. Thinking about whether reading it is enough. Or whether watching it is. That's the account as I have it. I've been a Forest Service worker for 11 years. In that time, I've filed hundreds of incident reports. I've documented trail damage, illegal activity, wildlife encounters, structural failures. I've always been precise. I've always been accurate. I don't know how to file a report for this. What I know is this: Sector 7C is closed. It will stay closed. If you work in the Ozarks, if you hike there, if you have any reason to be in that part of the National Forest, stay out of the Eastern Ridge area. Stay away from Harmon Creek Basin. Don't look for the station. And if you're in the woods and the birds go quiet, if you feel that waiting quality in the silence, if you find something buried in the mud that looks like it was meant to be found, leave it there. My name is Daniel Harrow. I'm a Forest Service worker with the Ozark National Forest. And as of this morning, I'm still in the log.